today's video, we are going to be making a proper Nigerian stew. There is nothing like a Nigerian stew without these leaves that you're seeing. Welcome to the channel, guys. On today's video, we're going to be making a proper Nigerian stew. As you can see, here are my ingredients. I've got tomato paste, I've got my turkey, I've got my onions, seasoning cubes, seasoning basically. I've got my curry leaves, and here is my stove. I just placed a pot on my stove. The next thing we are going to be doing is to be seasoning our turkey and then parboiling it for a while before we proceed. All I did was just to wash my turkey thoroughly, and I began adding the ingredients. That's Nigerian stew without ginger and garlic. So I crushed my ginger and garlic into a paste like what you can see, just a little, and then I poured that in my turkey, my washed turkey, in the pot. Next, I'm going to be adding other seasoning. This is a combination of turkey seasoning, my condiments basically. Now I added some bouillon cubes to it and then crush them just so everything can marinate. Next, I'm going to be adding my salt. Please do not use too much of salt, especially if you're 25 years and above. Minimize your salt intake. Next, I'm going to be mixing everything together. I'm just going to be using my hands, but covering my hands. After mixing everything together, I'm going to cover up my pot, allow the steam that will come out of the meat, or basically allow the meat to cook without water for some time before you can add water. The reason is just so that this meat can have taste. Boil it with the water that comes out with the turkey. So after I'm done, I don't know what happened here, but I was supposed to have added my onions and then added some water, but I think I forgot. That's why I'm adding everything now. I think I forgot to add that. Next, let's enter the stew proper. I poured my vegetable oil in my wok. Next, I'm going to allow that to heat up for a bit. Then I will toss in my onions and saute for a while until they are tender. Saute your onions for a while before adding in your tomato paste. When you're making Nigerian stew, deviate from using all those tin tomatoes, all those processed tomatoes. If you use them, it's going to be slappy. I don't know about you, I don't like my stew to be slappy, hence the reason why I always use only tomato paste when I'm making my stew. Just so you know, I know tomatoes are very expensive on the market now, but these tomatoes were from last year. I always buy my tomatoes when they are cheap. I buy them and I grind them with my peppers. I grind them very well and then I steam them and then I pack them in my freezers. So when tomatoes are expensive like they are now, I will start using them. I will exhaust them before I start restocking up again. So if you don't know about this trick, please get this into your obstinate head. So in my other channel, I showed you guys how I do this. I go to the market, I buy my tomatoes, I grind them, not in the market. I love to grind them myself at home because you don't know whether they wash their engine in the market as well. So make sure to grind them by yourself so that you know what you're putting in your food. So preserve them. If you have space in your freezers, preserve them for the rainy days. That's exactly what happened. You might just be wondering if I'm tomato rich. That's because I saved these tomatoes from last year. So while I was frying my stew, I noticed that my turkey was soft and tender. Then I started placing it in my oven pan. Next, I'm going to toss that in my oven while I fry my stew. Keep on frying your stew. How you will know that your stew is ready is when the oil starts to settle on top, or the oil you're using to fry starts to settle on top. My mom always loved to fry her stew to be very, very dried, like you won't have any bland taste or any slappy taste. That's when she knows that her stew is ready. And my mommy's stew was always very, very yummy. So you can say that I cook like her. Okay. So the next thing that I would do is to transfer my turkey that are already dried in the oven. So they are not so dried. I don't love my turkey or my chicken to be crunchy. I just love them to be tender and moist at least. So next I transfer that into my stew, and then I will stir very well, or I will just pour my, what do you call it, my curry leaves, because these curry leaves are what makes Nigerian stew. I don't know about you, but if I'm making a proper Nigerian stew, I always love to use these fresh curry leaves. All right, so this stew, my kids love them so much, and I love to make it for them. In my other episode of Nigerian stew, I'm going to make a healthier option of Nigerian stew for you guys, just so if you're up to 30 years, 25 years, 28 years, you can just choose that option. All right, for that you don't need oil in your stew for the healthier option. I'm not saying this is not healthy, but I love to make this for my kids. But if you're watching your weight, you should not be found eating this type of stew a lot. You can eat it once in a while, maybe on your cheat days. But if you're really serious with your weight loss, you should not be eating this stew every time. It's for the kids, but not every time for the kids though. But my kids love to eat the healthier version, but I have two ways of making my stew. So this is one of the ways that I love to make my stew. Please stay tuned to this channel for the next episode of proper Nigerian stew, the healthier version. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on my next one. Bye.